Hi, welcome back to Creative Tuesdays with Liz. I'm very excited again to be here this week. I'm really looking forward to today's project, and I hope everybody else will enjoy it too. Today we will be coming together to create a light-up cardboard tube frame. So what you will need is some empty cardboard tubes, like toilet paper roll tubes, paper towel roll tubes, an empty one that's been used. You'll need some scissors, you'll need plain paper, you'll need coloring utensils, maybe some glue if you want to glue things on it, like glitter, buttons, colored tissue paper, just anything that you would like to use to decorate it with. And then also a little battery operated light. Obviously it would not be safe to light a real candle with a flame to put inside a cardboard tube. It would definitely catch fire. So let me say now, do not use a real candle and real flame. You want to use a battery operated light. So you might also want a ruler if you want to measure more precisely, but a ruler is definitely not needed for sure. But yeah, so your scissors, your coloring utensils, glue, anything that you want to add to it, the cardboard tubes and everything. So we will go ahead and get started. So the first thing that we'll do, we'll take our tube and we're going to need to cut out a frame area. And to do that, we're just going to first of all, smush it a little flat. Now you can make your frame be like straight rectangle. You can make it coming up to a point in the middle. You can cut your frame shape to be any way that you want it to. So for this, I'll cut a rectangle. And I'm going to come up just a little bit from the bottom and mark it there. That's how far I started. And then I'm going to come down that far, that same amount on the top area. So I'll go ahead and make a little cut and place that there so that you can see where I'm going to cut. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut about halfway to the tube where I have it smushed or flattened a little. So cut to the halfway. And then I'll cut up and get to the point where I made my other cut on top. And there's the frame. You can see it's opening. So my picture that you will actually see once I put it in the frame is going to be this big. So you're going to take the piece that you cut out of your cardboard tube and use as a guide for the size that your drawing or your actual artwork that you're going to put in your frame needs to be. So you can, if you have a pencil or crayon, if you wanted just to trace that, you can, just to know where it will be, what part of your picture will be shown. And then your whole paper that you cut to put in your frame is going to need to be like maybe a ½ inch larger than your cutout area. But you do not want it to be taller than the frame, the tube itself. So if you can see my line here, I'm going to outline it in a dark color just so you can see that this is what will actually be seen on my frame, this part right here. And I'm going to cut around a little bit just so that my paper will be big enough to go inside there and stay in place. You will not need a glue or tape or anything your picture that you create inside your frame. It's going to stay. And make sure that it's not taller than the tube, and mine's a little close, so I'm going to cut it just a little bit shorter. All right, and make sure that that will be good and not, yeah, so it's going to need to be shorter so that when you put your picture in there, it won't be poking out the top or the bottom or anything. There we go, and see, this just stays in place. You won't need to tape it, glue it, or anything. It's going to stay in place. Now, to decorate your frame, you can paint the tube. This one was just painted yellow. I painted the whole tube. You can use, like we did the jar lantern before, you can glue some colored tissue paper pieces on. You can glue buttons, glitter. You can decorate this any way you want to. You can even color on it with markers. I would say if you use markers, to use permanent markers and not regular markers, just because if you use regular markers and you're touching and holding, it's going to kind of smear off and you'll get marker on your hand, and what you drew on your frame will kind of be smeared off. It won't stay in place. So you can get markers if you wanted to decorate however you wanted to on it, and color some different decorations, some polka dots, color those in, stripes. You can just make it look any way that you want to. So you can color on it. Like here, I've started to glue some tissue paper pieces to this one. So you can do that. You can get your glue and a paintbrush, and you can brush you on a little bit of glue. And then stick you your colored piece of tissue paper on there. And rub some more glue over that just to keep it in place good. So there's any number of ways you can do this. You can glue your tissue paper on and let that dry. You could just paint your whole tube, and then you'd need to let that dry. This one I painted and it's kind of dried, and I'm going to put a little bit of glitter around just the opening of where the frame is. So for that, I'll do the same thing. I'll just get a small paintbrush and some glue, and I'll dip my paintbrush in it and kind of paint just around the edge where I want my glitter to be. And if you use glitter, you might want to put a piece of paper underneath it so that you can catch the extra and then put it back in the bottle and save it so you can keep reusing it. So paint a little bit of glitter on with your paintbrush. Shake it on your tube, if you can see that. And then what's left on this paper I can just put back in my container and I can keep reusing it instead of having to throw this away. So you can add glitter, and then it's real easy just to take your piece of paper and just funnel it right back in your container there. Then you can save it and keep on reusing it, and you didn't waste any. You can do that. You can choose to buttons, like I said, if you wanted to put buttons on it, you'll use some glue. Put your buttons on it, stick those on. And if you glue something that's kind of heavy like this, you might need to kind of let it dry just a little bit to hold and get it real sticky before you turn it right back up so that it wouldn't just slide off. But you can add buttons, glitter, ribbon, paper, anything that you want to add to this. And then as for your actual art that you frame, you can write a quote, you can do a drawing of anything that you like. You can just make it be a whole bunch of different colors, kind of like a stained glass window, a quote, a Bible verse, anything that you wanted, you can create that on. And then, like I said, so it will be just the right size for you to put back into your frame. And it will stay in place. You won't have to worry about glue or tape or anything like that. You can turn your light on. You'll stick that underneath there. And you'll have your light up little tube frame. I did a drawing earlier this week, kind of getting ready for Halloween time. So you can take that, just slide it in there in place. Put your frame, your little light in there. And you can really see it lit up really good when the lights are out and all these other lights aren't shining on it. So I hope that you guys can see that, what that's like. But I'm really interested in seeing the frames that you guys came up with, and I'd love to see your creations. So please take a picture of them and post them on social media and tag us, the Lancaster County Council of the Arts, in it so that we can see what each other is creating at home while we're working on the same projects together, and they all will be so different and so unique. Next week, we will come together and create a kind of spooky haunted house picture. So what you'll need for this, you'll need some plain paper. You will need crayons. It will have to be crayons. You will also need a black permanent marker. And you're going to need either some shoe polish, liquid shoe polish, or some very watered down thin black paint. So next week, I look forward as we come together and create our spooky haunted house drawing, and it'll be really fun, really neat, just in time for Halloween. So I look forward to seeing you then. Thanks.